Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil. Before we get into today's show, please do me a small favour. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if this is your first time watching. We're only one subscriber away from 41,100, so go and do that right now. And be sure to give the video a like as well. Let's try and see 500 likes. So, the question I've got for you this morning is in relation to the striker position. That will be the first talking point of the show. And the question is this: who should Manchester United sign as the new striker this summer? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll obviously give you my thoughts in a minute. And the reason we asked this question is because there is a story breaking this morning from multiple different journalists here in the UK that apparently Manchester United have set their sights on Ipswich attacker Liam Delap. Now, it says that Amorim has identified Victor Gyökeres and Osimhen as dream centre-forward targets, but there are now concerns over whether United will be able to meet the demands and now have resulted in putting Liam Delap as their more attainable option. Oh, I don't know what to think about this, really. I like Liam Delap. I mean, he's clearly a talented footballer, but going from Victor Gyökeres to Liam Delap or Osimhen to Delap, it's not really that good, is it? I think for me personally, and this might be me being a bit over the top, I think we need a Gyökeres and a Liam Delap. Because for me, I think Rasmus Højlund might be on the way out. We'll talk about Højlund in a minute, by the way, but I just don't see Liam Delap being enough to lead our line going forward. He's got 9 goals in 23 Premier League games this season, which is, I mean, it's not bad for a team that are, are they, bottom or second from bottom? He's got 2 assists, so he's got 11 goal and assists in 23 games, which is on average a goal or an assist every other football match, which is, it's not terrible, is it? But it's still not great. When you compare that to people like Ollie Watkins, Isak, Højlund, Salah, they're all closer to 20. But if you want to have a fair argument, Rasmus Højlund's got 2 goals this season in the Premier League and no assists. And Liam Delap has got 9 goals and 2 assists. So Liam Delap's got 7 more goals than Højlund, and he's playing for a team that are in the relegation zone. If someone was to say to me you could swap Liam Delap for Rasmus Højlund, I would definitely do that, but I'm just not convinced that he's going to take us from this level to this level. That's the point I'm making here. And he does just feel like a cheap signing. So for me personally, if I had to answer the question, I would probably try and move on Rasmus Højlund. And I know people will say, oh, give him a chance, he doesn't get service. I just don't see enough in Rasmus Højlund to convince me that if an offer came in of 40-50 million from a Serie A side, which we'll talk about in a minute, I would accept that offer, I think he does have potential. I just think that maybe if a big enough bid came in, I think you would have to consider it, because we spoke about this a couple of days ago, right? I know we paid a lot of money for Rasmus Højlund. We paid, let me just double check the fee. It was 74 million euros. What's that in pounds? Because I think we spoke about this on a show before, but there is actually potential to make profit on this Højlund deal. So we paid £61 million for him, right? And it was a 5-year contract. And obviously with the amortization, we've spread the fee over 5 years. So if we do 61 divided by... So we do 61 divided by 5, which is the length of the contract, which gives you... So in the summer, we'll only have £36.6 million left to pay of Rasmus Højlund's transfer fee. And there are some reports coming out this morning from reliable journalists that apparently Juventus are interested in signing him and would be willing to pay around 40 million plus add-ons. So if we were to sell Højlund for 40 million in the summer, we would be making around 3.5 million profit, because obviously we've already paid 2 years worth of his transfer fee. And obviously amortization is done by year. The PSR is done on a yearly basis. So maybe that's an option, but I still am not convinced that, that Liam Delap is going to be enough to take us from 14th place to 4th place. I just don't see it. I think at a team like Manchester United, you need 3 strikers at any given point. So whether that would be Gyökeres, Liam Delap and Xerxes, I'd be happy with that. Or Osimhen, Liam Delap and Xerxes. Or even, for argument's sake, you could potentially go for Victor Gyökeres, and you could have Xerxes and Chido Obi Martin, or Højlund and Chido Obi Martin, or one of those alternatives. Or Liam Delap, Chido Obi Martin and Gyökeres. It could be any of those options. But for me, I'm just not convinced that Liam Delap is good enough to be leading the line for Manchester United. I might be wrong. I mean, 9 goals in 20 games is not bad in the Premier League. He might end up close to double figures by the end of the season, which would be very respectable. But then the question is, how much would a player like Liam Delap cost? He's not going to be cheap, is he? I wouldn't say. 30, 40 million, maybe? And when you think that Gyökeres is available for 60 and Osimhen's available for 60, what would you rather do? Pay 40 million for Liam Delap or pay an extra 20 and get yourself an Osimhen or a Gyökeres? Now, arguably, both of those players' wages will be a lot higher. And arguably, Gyökeres and Osimhen will be much harder deals to do because there'll be people like Arsenal. There'll be top teams trying to sign. Chelsea need a striker as well, don't they? So there's going to be lots and lots of competition for Gyökeres and Osimhen, whereas there might not be as much for Liam Delap. But then again, does that just mean that Manchester United are settling for second best because we're accepting that, 1, we don't have the money to do the deals, and 2, we can't beat other teams in competition? It doesn't make particularly good reading. But I'd be interested to know what you guys all think about this. Like, would you be happy with Liam Delap? The Real C says that says that Delap looks good. Domain says that I'm okay with Delap. Fair enough, yeah. I mean, Liam Delap's stats are much better than Højlund's, and that's a fact. He's got 9 goals in 20 games. Højlund's got 2 goals in 20 games. So, but then, obviously, as I've said, the Village FC says, is he a top 4 striker? That's the big question, isn't it? Is Liam Delap good enough to play for a team who want to be in the top 4? I just think personally we need someone with a little bit more experience, and obviously someone like an Osimhen or someone like a Gyökeres has that experience. Archer says he is Premier League proven though. I mean, it's a fair point. And, the fact that he's got 9 goals already this season in a team that are in the relegation zone that's impressive. I'm not sure how many of them are penalties though. That's the only thing. Let's have a little look. Is there anywhere where I can see what his goals... So it says he's got 9 goals, 2 assists. Just trying to see if goals. Okay, so he's got 9 goals this season, 2 of which are penalty goals. He's had 41 shots, 21 shots on target. His XG. So yeah, I mean, 2 of his 9 goals were from penalties, but I mean, that's not that bad, is it? And when you look at the positions of where his goals have come from, a couple of them have come from outside the box, and then you've got about all the rest of them have come from within the box. So he's more of a penalty box striker, which is what we kind of are looking for, isn't it? But also somebody who can offer something outside of the box as well, which we know that he can do. So yeah, transfer fee wise, I mean, on the website I'm on here, it says that he's worth about 20 million, but obviously Man City have a buyback clause. I'm not sure what the buyback clause is. Let's have a look. Liam Delap, Man City buyback clause. I mean, Man City would... Wow. So Man City have a 45 million euro buyback clause. That's crazy, isn't it? So that kind of gives you a bit of an indication on how much Ipswich would be looking for Liam Delap. If they've got this 45 million euro buyback clause, which is about 37 million pounds. How would people feel if that was an option here? So say Rasmus Højlund went to Juventus for 40 million. That's what's being reported this morning. And then we would then spent that 40 million on Liam Delap. Would you be happy with that? Liam Delap would cost us about 37, and Rasmus Højlund would get about 44. Would you be happy with that? I think I probably would, to be honest, but I hope that Rasmus Højlund comes good at Manchester United. I just don't see it at the moment. I know he's a Manchester United fan. I know he loves the club. I know all of these things, but I just don't see enough from him on the pitch. When was the last time you watched Rasmus Højlund play and were like, wow? I can't remember the last time. In the Premier League, I can't remember there ever being a time when I've thought like that. I mean, he had a couple of good games in the Europa League and the Champions League, didn't he? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's a shame. It is a shame because I think we did have such high hopes for him. And I think the biggest problem for Højlund is not actually him. It's the fact that Manchester United spent £63 million or 62 million pounds on him. If he was a £20 million striker, you know, the Man United fan base would see him in a completely different way. But the fact that we spent more on him than Newcastle spent on Alexander Isak is just mind-blowing. Like, we paid a fee for a player who was going to become the best striker in the world, or one of the best strikers in the world, you know? And unfortunately, he just hasn't lived up to the potential. But, you know, things can change. You know, let's see. Johnny says that Rasmus has 5 goals in 8 games in the Europa. I mean, maybe that's his level though. You know, because when you look at the teams that we played in the Europa, I don't know. I get that he has scored some goals in the Europa, but we need to score in the Premier League. That's got to be our priority. So, yeah. All right, let's move on from that though, and let's move over to this story from The Athletic that broke last night, that apparently Manchester United are set to fire another 150 people from Manchester United. It says that despite the club's financial report saying the programme ended last August, some ordinary staff believe their jobs are now being let go of because of bad decisions. Wow. I mean, it's absolutely... So effectively, what this story from The Athletic says is that Ineos are sacking around another 150 normal working class people who work for Manchester United. You know, we're not talking big earners. We're talking people on £30,000 a year, less even, £20,000 a year. Even there was one person who'd been working at the club for about 30 years and they're getting rid of her. And the reason that they're doing this is because, and I said this at the time, that the reason that they're doing this is because they want to make back the money that they lost because of the bad decisions on Ten Hag and Dan Ashworth and also last summer's transfer window. That's what it says. So the only reason that they're sacking more staff is because they had to pay, I think it was around £30 million to sack Erik Ten Hag and bring in Ruben Amorim. And I said that at the time. I said, maybe you know, Erik Ten Hag needs to go. Maybe he's not good enough, okay? But we paid, I think it was around £30 million total to sack Ten Hag, all of his staff, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Rene Haak, and then to bring in Ruben Amorim and all of his staff. Remember, we had to pay Sporting Lisbon, I think it was like €10 million to get Ruben Amorim. Like, the sacking of Erik Ten Hag situation cost Manchester United so much money. And let's be honest, right? I like Ruben Amorim, but it hasn't worked so far. We've got worse. We're falling further down the table. The football hasn't got any better. The formation doesn't seem to work at the moment. And this isn't me saying that Ruben Amorim won't work. I'm just making a factual point. We paid £30 million, which now means that we're having to sack normal working class people to raise that money back to make our team better, to make our football team better by bringing in a new manager. And if anything, it's made our football team worse. It has. It really, really has made our team worse. Because the thing you have to remember as well, which I think is actually the biggest takeaway point here, and I said this at the time, but people were like, sack Ten Hag, he's not good enough. We were actually creating loads of chances under Ten Hag in this season at the beginning. And our XG per game was like 3 or 4 per game goals. But our strikers were like missing open goals. Do you remember the Dalot game? The West Ham game where Erik Ten Hag got sacked? And it was 0-0 in that first half. And we should have scored like 3 or 4 goals in that first half. And Diogo Dalot missed an open goal. Like, we were actually creating chances under Ten Hag. But, and you know, I said it at the time. I said, what do you expect Ten Hag to do? To get on the pitch himself and finish an open goal chance? Like, you can't coach a player to be able to, under pressure, score an open goal. And I just think it's a disgrace, to be honest. I really do. I think it's an absolute disgrace that Ineos have made so many bad decisions that now, again, working class, normal people are being removed from this club. And all they're really doing is They're ripping the heart out of Manchester United because these normal people who are from the local area, who work for the club, some have been there for 10, 20, 30 years. The only reason they're losing their jobs is because Ineos have made bad decisions and they need to make the money back. And that's literally written in this Athletic article. It says the staff believe that their jobs are on the line because Ineos made bad decisions on Ten Hag sacking, Ashworth sacking, and also last summer's transfer window. And that's a fact. It says Manchester United owners continue to cut costs with more than 100 staff set to be made redundant. I just think that everything they've done so far has been a complete mess. From top to bottom, everything. I mean, even the stadium, right? They took over, they took over in December 2023. It's now February 2025. It's been nearly a year and a half. And there's still nothing really tangible going on with the stadium, is there? We still don't know if it's going to be a new stadium, if they're going to renovate, when it's going to be ready. Like, they haven't even started the planning process. And we're a year and a half into it. The debt's still there. The transfer market, the transfer business doesn't seem to have improved much, really. When you look at our January window, letting go of 2 attacking players and bringing in a defender. But I just think it's really bad. And I'm sure most of you will agree with me here. Alex says, how are we worse? McTominay carried us on his back. McTominay wasn't here at the beginning of the season, mate. He left in the summer. Not sure what you're talking about. Ant says, my friend is a manager, the social media manager at Manchester United, and she's heard that the club are planning to outsource the whole thing. I wouldn't be surprised. They'll probably have no staff. They'll just have like self-employed people. So they don't have to give them holiday pay. They don't have to give them any benefits. And it will just be, done by an outside media company. I bet you that's what they'll do. And it'll be the same for pretty much everything they can do. It will be like, we don't have any employees. We just pay random people who don't even live in Manchester to kind of do all these jobs for us. I mean, on the other hand, maybe we do need to get rid of all these people. Maybe we have too many people working at the club. But I think the fact that you spend £30 million sacking a manager to bring in another manager mid-season who plays a completely different system, and then it doesn't work, Liam says, I was always under the impression that Ineos just ran the football side and the Glazers ran everything else. Well, the Glazers didn't used to do this, did they? So maybe you're right. And we've said this before, that Ineos effectively are just the mouthpiece for the Glazers. I mean, when was the last time anybody spoke about the Glazers, really? We just talk about... All we talk about is Ineos. So it's very clever, very, very clever how they've done it. Right, let's talk a little bit about Antony, shall we? So the story's coming out this morning. This was from the director of football at Real Betis, and he is suggesting that apparently Antony could stay at Real Betis next season. Okay, I mean, if they're going to buy him, great. I can't see Real Betis being able to cough up enough money to make it at all worth our while, but we'll obviously have to wait and see there. It's going to be a very big transfer window, though, for Man United. Maybe not in relation to ingoings, but in relation to outgoings. Obviously, we know that Lindelof will be leaving. We know that Johnny Evans is going. We know that Eriksen's going. There's a story this morning that Casemiro will leave this summer. I feel like Casemiro is another Phil Jones, where he's just going to be here and just hanging around until his contract expires. He doesn't seem to have any desire to play football anymore, does he, Casemiro? Clearly. When he first came to Manchester United, he still had that pedigree where he saw himself as one of the best players in the world. He turns 33 next year. He's not playing football, and it doesn't seem like he's pushing for a move. He's got 1 year left on his contract. I think he's just going to run down his deal and then move to Saudi and try and get as much money as possible as a free agent. But if I was Manchester United, I would just be saying I know this sounds a bit crazy, but this summer, I would literally just get rid of Casemiro, even if it was for such a small amount of money. I would say, like, not quite terminate his contract because we don't want to have to pay off his wages. But, if a Saudi club were like, oh, we'll give you $2 million for him, I would just let him go at this point. He's offering us nothing. He doesn't play football. Ruben Amorim clearly doesn't like him. And he's on 350 grand a week sitting on the bench. So, yeah, that would be my take on that. But obviously, you can let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm going to wrap the video up here. Thank you very much for watching. I will be back tomorrow morning. Obviously, if anything breaks between then and now, I will go live. Please make sure to drop a like before you leave. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. This has been Daily Red Devil, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye for now.